Hey, hi, and hello, I'm Maisara, and we are now about midway through week 3 of the first season of Midnight, and with that, the big change that happened to dungeons this season was the introduction of the new tank affix, Lindormi's Guidance. This is the one that lights up the mobs as you go through the dungeon so that you can have a basic route and kind of know where you're going. And something I've been very curious about since it was first announced was how is that route going to line up with what people are actually pulling? And like, how viable are they throughout the different key levels? So I went through, I ran a bunch of twos, bunch of low keys to grab the route, threw it into Keystone Guru, and I just wanted to make a really quick video going through what I noticed versus what I've seen other people pulling at all the different key levels. I gotta say, for most people, it shouldn't be too much of a surprise that dungeons like Algeth'ar, Skyreach, even a bit of Spire, Terrace, there's not gonna be a whole lot of variance here because a lot of the dungeon pool this season is very press W. Very literally with Lindormi's route here in Academy, the only real difference is in the much higher keys. You're going to start seeing people skip out on the mobs on the bridge or the casters down here on the stairs before the last boss. So you pull a little bit differently. You probably pull a bit more foragers so that you could skip these mobs. Yeah, anywhere up until a 12, I would say even into 15s as we get into week 4, more people have mythic gear and everything. You're probably not going to have to rely on these skips in pugs. So if you pull this exactly how Lindormi tells you, that's fine. As far as how this is broken up, this is just how I pulled it in a 2. I'm not going to, force someone to do a big lust pull in a 2 to a 5 key. That's just not. So this is just pulled how I pulled it when I last ran it. The amount of mobs you pull can definitely vary depending on your group's confidence. It's very much the exact same thing with Skyreach. There is no difference here. You would just lust pull this whole first half first and then go about your way. And otherwise, it is identical. Even going left up the stairs here before the last boss, nobody's going right. Even in the highest of keys, nobody does this pull here. So yeah, again, very viable. If you've been running Lindormi's Guidance, you've been kind of relying on those highlights and you're ready to try to take it up to the next level as you get into homework keys, very doable. I'd say even with Spire, we see here, I don't know why it's overpulled. Somebody probably butt pulled something on the route that I copied over and I've missed where it is. But for the most part, this is pretty on par with what I've seen other people pulling. A lot of it you can't avoid anyway, especially these narrow corridors and getting out the doors. Really, the only variance I see is whether or not you pull more of the orcs down here. If you skip out on like this axe thrower, some people do that. You could also drop some of these guys to pull more orcs. It just kind of comes down to what you end up pulling. But for the most part, very much the same. Another press W one is Terrace, and I was actually pleasantly surprised to see not only is it all kind of identical, no shock there, but that this part right here, the void section, even in the absolute highest of keys, everyone is opting to avoid literally everything here. You pull out the hallway on the void side and then you just go straight to the second boss. And I was kind of surprised to see that literally no one's pulling any of this, and I guess it kind of makes sense. There's a lot here that you A, don't need, or B, can get pretty dangerous if you're not being careful, especially the fear guys and things like that. With Zenith, it gets a little different. It looks like Lindormi gets you to kind of just zigzag across, so you kind of get a taste of a little bit of everything, and that makes sense. I will say in higher keys and more, I wouldn't even say coordinated groups, just in higher keys, more and more people are opting to get all of their account from the right wing here. So everybody, you just pull everything on the void section. It's exactly what I do, and I'm pretty sure that's what most people do, where this is just easier to deal with. There's nothing here that's too terribly scary as long as you're not getting a bunch of dread flails being woken up. Whereas on the left side, there's just so much rot. There's so many floor hazards. It's just a lot of everything. And if you do pull all of this, you don't have to worry about pulling any of the extras up here on the platform. You could have this, like if you miss a pat, it's nice to have this as a backup. Whereas with Lindormi, it just kind of has you clearing this whole thing. I do feel like the devs probably did this so you didn't have to worry about butt pulling it if you're dealing with Lothraxian's whole mechanic. I can get why they did that. If you pull it like this in a higher key, I don't imagine anyone's going to care. All the way up through a 12, no one's going to care about coming here and cleaning this up. You can just pull these guys into here. These two are just a pain in the butt to drag if you don't have a Death Knight or you don't have anybody helping you with kicks. Getting into ones that aren't as linear though, we've got Seat. I would say it's a very safe route, except for it's got a couple of things I don't quite like. This is one where you'd probably start kind of deviating and finding your own route, or going to finding a route that you like. And the reasoning being is like this first pull, that's fine. If you want to do a big lust pull, you can grab some of this trash for some extra count and cleave. Perfectly fine. But then you come outside and it just kind of, you just grab these two guys into the Rift Warden because your next highlights are all up here. So very small cleave here, and if you're in a 12, it's just going to be real slow. It's going to feel like it takes an eternity. I don't like pulling the War Adepts, and I like avoiding as many Subjugators as I can, but these guys have a big knockback, and if you're not ready for it, or you're like, you miss it, you can get knocked away from that Void Tear, which will pull the Rift Warden, which means that much more rot on your party. So if you're not something that has a quick way to get back, that could end up being a problem. I don't like this pull, but Lindormi does. And then you come down here, you have another Subjugator, and you just kind of clear your way, and you don't touch any of these pats, which means this guy, you're either dragging all of this into here, or you're fighting him alone. In a lower key, you're probably fighting him alone, and again, that gets slow, or you're trying to drag all of this over, which means you have the Subjugator on top of the Warden. That's dangerous. You don't need to do that. But besides those, like once you clear all of this up, which is like my only real sticking point with her route, all of this is pretty standard. You can kill all of this. That's fine. That's easy. It's exactly what I do with my own. I skip all of this big danger stuff. I prefer to run back and around because you can just run past all of this and that tentacle. As long as you're being very careful with the tentacle, you don't want somebody to get hit by it, but you can just kill everything here, go back up, and then you can actually just grab these guys and walk your happy butt way up here, or even just grab this pat and walk all the way up, and it's perfectly viable. And then you kill everything up here. Yeah, that I would say Seat is the least egregious of the routes that you might be like deviating from Lindormi. But if you do pull like this, it's doable. It's fine. Just know that this is going to be a really slow kill. This is going to be a really slow, or in 12s, and if your group isn't all that confident, this could end up being a little dangerous, but I'm sure you can manage. Getting into pit, honestly, this is pretty much what everybody's running. The only difference is you can pull more of this in a big lust pull, which means you can avoid some of the other mobs elsewhere. But for the most part, all this, if you've run pit at all, you would have seen this route. You could pull exactly this all the way up to your homeworks and be totally fine. No one's going to flame you. No one's going to have an issue with it. I was really surprised at just how viable pit was. I was expecting something different, and I gotta say, I don't even think that deviates. No, it doesn't deviate too much from what I pull, except for I just pull bigger the higher my key goes. Even someone like Kira, you can see he just pulls bigger. Bigger cleave groups means you can get to bombs dead faster, and you'd handle everything a lot faster. So yeah, very viable, and it looks like nobody's doing Ick and Crick first, so there's no reason to take this path, because then you end up double backing so you can get to the prisoners, and we don't want to avoid that. And our last one is going to be Caverns. Now, Caverns is the one that deviates the most. Caverns is the one that I assume if you are elevating past Lindormi's route, you are going to start getting flamed. If you try to pull this route in a 10 and a 12, anything around that homework level, this is where people are going to start really questioning your confidence as a tank. This is going to be where people are probably going to start going, all right, I'm going to leave. Now, the idea behind Lindormi's route here, I would assume, is avoiding this patrol right here. You have a mask that goes up and down the stairs right here. You have this juggernaut that goes back and forth, and you have this patrol, and this all kind of crisscrosses. So if you end up pulling any of this in a less confident group, even in confident groups, this can get real deadly real fast. 3 Shadowbinders, this is a very dangerous patrol. Like this whole corner right here is just super dangerous. So I get it. I get why left. I will say I don't like that for some reason it doesn't route into the hut. I would personally prefer Lindormi to favor routes that get you to the fun gimmicks, the mechanics of the dungeon, and that just doesn't happen here. But absolutely for certain, grab another pug route, grab a route, before you get into 10s and 12s that is, grab another route from MDT, take the right side. The Vile Branch Stew is too good for mitigating damage. That leech is very helpful in this dungeon. All of this is still very manageable, and most people, you get the 2 prisoners here, you clear out this patrol, and then you just jump and skip all of this. There are routes. My own route actually skips everything here because I just don't like dealing with them with pugs. I don't want to trust the kicks. I don't want to accidentally butt pull something super dangerous. You can just jump straight down to the boss and get all of the count here, where all you're dealing with are reanimated warriors. I'm confident in my ability to press my defensives, so I'd rather deal with those guys any day. It's all just free cleave for my DPS, and I like to clear most of it in here. The only thing I skip is a Gnarlden, because in higher keys, he's just a big block of health, and I don't want to deal with that. But yeah, definitely right side versus left. For the second half of this dungeon, it does look like it also clears this whole bridge. I don't know why. This is very, very, very wild to me. I would not do this. And anything around a 10, a 12. It's if you missed a patrol back here, if you missed a pull, you just made a mistake and you want to make up some count, that's fine. You can come up and kill this guy. But you definitely don't want to be having a lot of fights on this bridge while this guy is sending the hands down. They slap. And anytime you're here, you will end up pulling the bats, trying to avoid those hands. It always happens. It makes everything a lot longer. That the route has you clear this whole bridge rather than something a lot safer like over here, these guys, or any of the plethora of very safe pulls going on around here is kind of wild to me, but it is what it suggests. So I would say out of all 8 dungeons, Maisara Caverns is the one that Lindormi gets wrong. I kind of get it. If you're in a very new group, you really don't want to have to deal with like trying to skip or deal with big lieutenants like the Juggernauts. This is doable. But once you get into 10s, once you're pushing in 12s and anything higher especially, you're going to get flamed. If you're not getting the stew buff, you're going to get ripped apart. They're going to like lose all confidence in you as a tank. So yeah, definitely the one. Other than that, I got to say, I was very pleasantly surprised. A lot of these are extremely viable. Pit really surprised me. I expected a lot more dangerous stuff. I expected like maybe have you pull the liches and it doesn't. You just skip it. Oh no, that's me. Yeah, you just pull the one lich. You're not like over pulling too much. It's all very doable. I gotta say, I've enjoyed this affix. It was kind of nice also to have things lit up, so I didn't have to try to think on the fly, do math on the fly. I've got add-ons that help me like track count and stuff, and it was nice not to have that. I would love to see that expanded a bit more. Right now, if you go in, every mob that you pull, quote unquote, is going to be highlighted yellow. It would be nice to maybe have like a green highlight, then a yellow, and then a red, and that way you kind of know like this patrol, then this one, then this one. But I guess that would also be not only a little too extra handholdy, but it would force you to pull smaller, which doesn't really need to happen. If your DPS are absolute monsters, pull big. Let them have some fun. That's the whole point of the tank. That's the real fun of the tank for me, at least, is really pushing myself to see how much I can handle to stay alive so my DPS can show off. My healer can feel like they're turning me into an immortal god. But yeah, I hope you guys don't mind like how quick this video was. I hope you don't mind just a quick yap session so we could talk about this. If you do have any comments about Lindormi's routes, let me know down below. I'm always happy to hear about it. I'm curious if you guys had the same experience, if you guys are enjoying the extra help, especially as new tanks, if you're just trying to get started, if you found it helpful. And if you do want to be able to copy these, not this one, never this one, but if you do want to copy these into higher keys, you kind of want to keep using what you're familiar with, I do have all these posted, and I'll have links for sharing in the description below. Thanks again, guys. I hope you guys have a great day. See you in the next one. Ciao.